Yo, guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 143. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. We're going to be talking about The Penguin episode 1 and Agatha All Along episodes 1 and 2, and any other nerdy news in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video. If you're watching us on a replay, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of all the content. Without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, man?
How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How you been?
I'm good. Haven't been live in a couple of weeks. I had to take some annual leave. My parents were in New York, so we had no childcare. And we thought at that time, we were like, oh, we may as well take some time off ourselves. And we went to France because my girlfriend, her sister lives over there. So they only had a baby recently. So said we'd go over for a visit while we had no childcare. So made the kind of best of a bad situation. So yeah, it was good. We were in France. We flew into Paris, and then they live in a place called Troyes, which is like 2.5 hours away from Paris. So we rented a car, and I drove us down there. So driving on the other side of the road that I'm used to, and it was a manual car as well. So like we went to the airport, like I was like, we should be fine to rent a car when we get there. And like we went to like 5 or 6 different places. None of them had a car available. I was like, fuck. And then we got to the last place, and they were like, yeah, we can give you a car. Is manual okay? And I was just like, yeah, it'll be fine. Fuck it. Like I know I would have no problem. I would have preferred to drive an automatic. Just being on the other side of the road, you know what I mean? One less thing to worry about, having to shift with my other arm. But it was fine. It was fine. I'm a good driver. How are you?
Not too bad. Just been busy with work. Trying to keep my schedule like the same, trying to get out like as soon as I get off work, try to stream for a little bit or go take care of things and then stream. So it's like it's a little bit difficult when you have so much to do in the meantime. It's just me and Katie at the moment. So it's like having to take care of the household, having to make sure the dishes are clean and whatnot, and it takes a toll. So like, we're not like exactly like on on the ball when it comes to stuff like that. So it just takes us time.
Yeah.
And we've kind of really enjoyed just being in separate areas, like her doing her own thing, me doing my own thing. It's actually kind of nice. Like we did have like that year-long situation where we were watching stuff constantly, and I think now it's kind of nice to just have like the separation for a bit, and just like once in a while we pop in, we're like, hey, how's it going and whatnot, and so we're just checking up on each other every now and then and just making sure we're both still doing well.
I think it's important to have some, like, maybe not so much alone time, but some time to do some shit for yourself. For you, it's probably like gaming and streaming and stuff like that. And like that's me as well. Like, like I wait until like the family are asleep. That's why I stream so late at night. But if I didn't have my couple of hours, a few nights a week to do my streams and play my games and stuff, I'd probably go insane. Like, I think it is very important to have that time to yourself, no matter what time of the day it is. You don't have any kids or anything like that, so it's a lot easier for the two of you to probably just be like, yeah, look, I'm gonna go do this for a couple of hours, I'll catch you for dinner or whatever, whereas for me, it's like, there's kids running around the house, we have to family comes first, and then while they're all asleep or whatever, that's when my time comes in. And then as well, I try and like go to the gym four times a week at least, minimum. So like I'm fully there with you, bro. I think, like, while having somebody by your side all the time is amazing, alone time is very important, if not as important as well. So you definitely need it.
Yeah, definitely. I was born a latchkey kid. So like essentially I'd have my own keys to the house. I'd go to school and then I'd walk home. Literally the house is like on the corner. So like that's what I did. I just came home, got in, locked the door, and just stayed home for the time being until my mother got home. So like raised by a single mother, it's kind of a tough gig. And so I've essentially learned to be on my own, very independent. And a lot of the times, like, there are moments where I'm like, okay, well, it'd be nice to talk to someone, but I'm really so comfortable with myself and with the things that I like to do that like it's kind of hard for me to want to go out and about all the time, but I do like going on adventures. So whenever I'm asked like, hey, do you want to go to this? Hey, do you want to go to that? Like if I don't have any prior plans, I'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And it's like that's how you were raised. So obviously that's what you're used to. You know, there's people who are just constantly with people 24/7 and they can't be alone. You know, so there's both ways to it. Marvel here. This comment hit me hard because I'm just about to return to work tomorrow. Like when we finish recording this, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up and return to work after 2 weeks off as well. So, first day back after 2 weeks holiday in Bali. I hope you had a great time, Marvel. That sounds epic. Bali's on my list. I'd love to go there sometime. It's definitely, maybe it'll be like a honeymoon thing or something if we end up tying the knot down the line or whatever. But sounds epic. Very jealous. To dive in, what do you want to talk about first? I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to talk about Agatha, or do you want to talk about Penguin, or do you want to talk about something else? It's entirely up to you. We kind of have two main topics to talk about. It's fantastic to have some new shows to talk about. I kind of feel like the cast was kind of dragging its heels a little bit over the last couple of weeks / months, but I think TV just out of nowhere. They say the phrase feast or famine, and I really feel like we were in a kind of bit of a famine mode there for a bit, and then it's like out of nowhere, it's like boom, like loads of new stuff to talk about. And like I nearly like went from having nothing to watch to going back to rewatching Arrow again because it just went up on Amazon Prime over here.
Right.
So I'm kind of just watching it because there's nothing else on. And then now we have like Penguin, Agatha. There's that new monster show on Netflix and everything. I'm like, Jesus, now there's not enough time to watch all the stuff I want to watch. So it's just funny how it goes. But it's up to you. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, it's just wanted to go back on that. Like, it's funny that you mentioned that because I decided, you know what, I'm going to check out some of the older cartoon shows and like check out the usual, like check out The Incredible Hulk, 2008 with Edward Norton, and see if it still holds up. And in my opinion, it still does. Like, I think a lot of people give it some flack, but at the same time, to be completely honest, I've never heard why. It's always just like, oh, I hate Incredible Hulk. Why? I just don't like it. It's okay, fuck you, dude. Like,
I think
there real quick, there was a TikTok that I came across.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Chaos Sharky and Apollo Successor about this.
Yeah.
Literally, they had their top 5 worst, and I forgot what the 5th was, but the 4th was The Incredible Hulk. But they go, number 4, The Incredible Hulk. Let's move on. And it's like, no, fuck you, dude. Like,
explain yourself.
You have nothing on that fucking movie. You are shitting on it for no reason. You are following the crowd. You're a goddamn sheep, and I'm fucking tired of it.
I haven't seen the movie since I think it came out. I think I watched it once. It was like a one and done for me. I haven't watched it since, but I actually own it on Blu-ray. So back in the day, like 2008, 2009, whenever that got released digitally and physically, I was still in a kind of mode of like, going to like one of the shops and getting like, 3 Blu-rays for 25 or whatever. And I was just like trying to collect as much as I could. And I remember seeing it and I had a cool box and I was like, yeah, I'll pick that up. Fuck it. Like, and I had Iron Man already. So I was thinking, maybe I'll get them all or whatever, not knowing how many of them would come out. You know what I mean? We were in the unknown at the time, but, like, look, I've seen the movie once. I do actually want to go back and rewatch it because I have a lot of time for Edward Norton, and I think Hulk wise, he looked amazing, and like if I remember correctly, like the action was like very intense in it. Like, he's picking up fucking like jeeps and shit and using them as weapons and all. Like, it sounds like exactly what a Hulk fan wants, And to be honest, like I think at the time it kind of it wasn't as good as Iron Man, maybe, and that's maybe why people started shitting on it at the start. And then Edward Norton fell out, and people kind of were calling him a dickhead and all this shit, and saying that he was selfish and all this stuff. And I think people kind of maybe fell out with Edward Norton more than they fell out with Hulk and the movie. I think Edward Norton himself just put a bit of a rotten taste in people's mouths, and then there was the recast, so people are like, oh, this isn't even MCU. Like, I remember thinking that myself. Like, I was like, when I do MCU rewatches, I would just skip the Hulk because I didn't think of it as in the MCU, because it's like, it just feels like, because of the recast, I'm like, I kind of don't want to include it because it's not technically MCU, but I know it is technically. So I think that's kind of maybe why.
Wait, you're talking about the Incredible Hulk 2008 is not MCU?
I would say this, I didn't think of it as the time, and I think I think a lot of people have the same mindset. They don't think of it as MCU, even though technically it is. They don't think of it as MCU because of like the
No,
recast.
it's a fact that it is.
Oh no,
Literally
I
at
know,
the end of the
I know it
No,
is
no,
for a fact, but
I get
I
what you're
don't think of it
saying.
as. Yeah, it's
But
it's
but
kind of
how? Like you
shunned
literally
upon.
we're gonna argue about this. How? Because literally at the end of the movie, you get the post credits or like mid credits where you
Yeah,
literally have Ross talking with Stark, saying that that he wants to assemble a team. What happened in the previous movie with Iron Man? Fury wants to start up a team. So clearly they're trying to start up a team.
yeah.
So clearly it's known.
Oh,
It's a thing. It's
I
canon.
think when
Like
they
trying to
made the
refute it
movie,
is
when they made that movie, it was 100% in the MCU. 100% sure. Fucking Robert Downey Jr. shows up at the end of the movie to recruit him. Of course, it's MCU. But I just think with everything that happened in the real world and the recast and everything like that, I just think it's one of those movies that's kind of side shelved a bit. Like, yes, technically it is the MCU, but it's not in my MCU.
no, you can't
And
do that, dude.
if you're
You
reading the
can't
chat
do
right
that.
now, if you're reading the chat right now,
Oh, it's not.
people, it's
Sure.
not saying it's not
Dude,
MCU. It's not considered
dude,
MCU.
dude, listen. The entire way that the way that it ends literally is based upon being always angry. Him actually acquiring the ability to change into the Hulk at will, which is done in the Avengers. He can change himself at will to Hulk. It is still canon. It is still it's still part of the timeline. Stop trying to refute it just because you think you hate it. Like no, like unless I get a solid reasoning. And
So
I'm not saying you have to be completely concrete and everything has to be factual. I just need an actual reason. When you watch a movie, like when I can talk about like Iron Man 1, honestly, I can't remember shit. I remember the cave. I remember Tony Stark build it in the cave with a bunch of scraps. I remember the Ironmonger. I remember Obadiah Stane a little bit, but I don't remember shit because I didn't watch it that often. Iron Man was
yeah,
great, but it wasn't that great. I think too many people put their faith into Iron Man and was like, "Oh my god, this is so fantastic." But can you really tell me what went on? If you really truly enjoyed it, if you felt
I,
like that was the top, like can you really specify what you loved about that scene?
I wouldn't call Iron Man 1 the top, but like it was a good Kickstarter for the cinematic universe. And just being like, I remember sitting in the theater watching that in 2008 and being absolutely blown away by Robert Downey Jr. and just how good he was as Iron Man and as Tony Stark. I think that is what probably blew people away the most, was just at how good the casting was and how good it actually just like sank in and just worked. You know what I mean? And like I even loved Terrence Howard as War Machine. I was kind of upset when Don Cheadle first came out because I was like, I actually really liked Terrence Howard, and that was a bit of a kind of mix up as well. And I think again, talking about a recast towards the start of the MCU, a lot of people don't like Iron Man 2 for whatever reasons as well. And I think, again, some of those reasons might be the recast because it just didn't make any sense in a cinematic universe that there's a new actor playing a character. And I understand it's all real world politics getting in the way, but I don't know. I think Iron Man 2, just like what you're saying about the Hulk, I think gets a shit rap. Because I think it's quite a good movie. It's not bad. It's not good. It's like, sorry, it's not great. It's a good movie. And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I usually have Wednesdays off, and I might sit and watch a movie with the missus or whatever, and I try and get an early night. I'm gonna dedicate this Wednesday to rewatching The Incredible Hulk. I'm gonna watch
Okay.
it for what might be the second time. I'm trying to really think. I know I saw it on the big screen. I maybe watched it once at home. I genuinely don't remember. I only have memory of watching it the very first time. And to be honest, with where the MCU is going right now, I actually think a rewatch of that movie is probably important because we know Betty Brant's come back into it. Or, sorry, what is it? What's her surname?
Betty Brant, I think, is Spider-Man.
Sorry, yeah, Betty, whatever her name is. Betty Ross.
Betty Ross.
Yeah, of course it's Ross.
Like Betty Brant. What?
Yeah, sorry. I think it's the wrong person. But Betty is coming back. We know that Liv Tyler is returning. Obviously, we have Thunderbolt Ross becoming the Red Hulk and everything like that. Like, and this is one of his first appearances in the MCU as well. So again, I know it's a different actor, but We'll ignore that. But yeah,
Right. So
I think a rewatch of that movie is probably important now for
yeah,
what's to
well,
come.
probably. But the idea behind this though is and from what everything that you're telling me and from what I'm hearing from other people is that it's not so much the movie that they care about, it's the people that were in it. And
I
I
think so.
think that's horrible. I think
I
that's a
do.
horrible
I
thing to
I do too.
talk about. Because like
I do too.
I watched the movie for the movie. I watched the movie for the characters, and you know, I'm sure you do too. And I'm sure there's some things that you loved about these different actors and actresses that came through. And yeah, I can see how it can smudge the design of like the movies and how it can like cause trouble in the long run. But like if it really mattered, then why is it that people were shouting to recast T'Challa when they did Chadwick Boseman? Because Chadwick Boseman passed away and people were crying out for a recast because Chadwick Boseman did so well to portray the Black Panther that like
Mhm.
you know, even Disney was like, well, we can't change that. People get pissed off when it comes to recasting. So
Mhm.
because of all the shit that went on, I believe that we're to blame for the non-recasting of T'Challa because they've been recasting left and right, you know, whenever they have to. And now that people have been upset and on a constant basis, they can't. I call
It's
bullshit.
I don't know, man. I think for Chadwick, I think it was so sudden. It was such a shock, and the fact that he was young and it was cancer. I think it's just I think out of respect, which we've heard since the decision was made. We've heard from his own family that that's not what he would have wanted. He would have
Right.
wanted the recast because it's all about the character. So Chad himself is probably looking down on us, going, "Oh, just recast, guys. Come on, please, just continue the story." But I can understand the business decision in it because I think some people would be upset at a recast too early, but then most people I think are just like, we want the character more so than the actual actor.
Well, now they want the character more because they've seen how much of a bullshit situation it is when you don't recast properly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And and
I
and
agree.
and, and look how weak it was with Yuri or Shuri. It
Mm,
was so fucking weak, dude.
it was.
It was such a letdown. The story didn't make sense because they had to try to work around the fact that he was gone. It was
Mm,
so sudden. He's gone. Like, how could this have happened? There was a disease, and it's like, yeah, that's fine and all. And I get what you're trying to portray this as like, this is so tragic. I really wish that we could have him back, and that's perfectly fine. I get that, but not recasting him is an even bigger middle finger in my opinion because
yeah,
you're essentially saying that the character dies with him, and
yeah,
that's the worst thing you could do.
I
And the
think so.
character did die. The character died with him. And yes, we have the child, but
I
how
kind of
when
I kind of like the idea of the child coming in because I know they had mentioned something about not recasting for like 8 years. And I think by the time they come around to using T'Challa again, it will be 8 years, and they're going to use his son, who's also named T'Challa. So it's kind of like the return of T'Challa, but it's not the same T'Challa, like T'Challa the second. It's kind of like best of a bad situation, sort of, without doing a full recast. But I don't know. At this point, like they may as well wait for the soft reboot and then just recast T'Challa altogether and start again. You know what I mean? Like I think they should like a soft reboot in that sense would actually really work for the character of T'Challa because they've gone and just erased him from the timeline, which I think again, real world stuff made that decision for them. Um, but I think yeah, it wasn't the best decision for the MCU itself.
right and consistently showing that they just don't know what decisions to make because there's so many people outcrying and being upset and showing that like we can't like you know, you can't change things, you can't change things, and then they finally don't change something and they're like, well, you need to change things, you need to change things. Like
Yeah,
it's such a hard situation. Either go in full force and do recasts every time something happens, or don't.
yeah,
If they were to be consistent and they were like, we're gonna recast T'Challa, we're gonna make sure that you know there's a new Black Panther. We want to keep the storyline consistent. We want to make sure that T'Challa gets his just story because that was one of the strongest, you know, Black characters that you could ever get in any sort of Marvel storyline so far. Like that, we had Blade in the past, and Blade was fucking badass. You know, we had Luke Cage, and I thought Luke Cage was really fun. Like but like when Black Panther came out, it was just so fucking iconic.
It was. I remember standing in the line to go see the movie, and like, this might sound weird for me to say, but there were so many black people around. Like, I live in like
you're not trying to say it in a mean way.
I'm not saying it. It just might sound out of context if somebody was to tune in right now and hear me say this. But I remember seeing so many more black people than I would usually see in like a line for the cinema, right? And I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, this is actually like a cultural thing that's happening right now. Like, this is like." You know, I saw all these like little like 10-year-old black kids coming out of the movie, and they were all like jumping around so happy and everything like that. And I just couldn't, like, I was like, that's actually so like heartwarming. It's so amazing to see that all these new Marvel fans have their own hero who looks like them to look up to.
Yeah.
Again, I've never had to think about it because most superheroes are white skinned or whatever. And again, you know, I like characters that aren't white skinned, but I never really needed or looked for representation in that way because I suppose we were kind of drowned out in it, so it's not something that we think about. But yeah, like it felt like it was something special for all these people who had somebody new on the scene in the spotlight, and they looked like them. You know what I mean? It definitely felt different, and that was amazing to see. And then when you obviously so tragic what happened, like it was just like I genuinely thought to myself, oh, all those poor kids, man. Like I thought about it, like I was like, all those kids that I actually physically saw with my own eyes jumping around so happy pretending to be Black Panther coming out of the screen, I was just like, fuck, those kids are probably all absolutely heartbroken right now.
Yeah, man. But the thing is too is that like having the oh god, what was I going to go with this one? I think I lost you like halfway through because I had the thought, and then as you kept going, it rolled out of my head. But it's essentially you know, okay, yeah. So thinking about it now, so when you see that there's so much agency for this character, especially like, you know, when you go back to the Hulk situation, if they had not recast Hulk, they wouldn't have had Hulk in the Avengers, right? How pissed off do you think people would have been if there was no Hulk in the Avengers?
I don't really know. Like, again, I'm not the biggest Hulk fan. I personally probably wouldn't have given a shit. You know,
right. So... No. Like, we're not talking about you. We're talking about in general. How fucked up would it be if one of the core members of an elite group were not there for the movie?
And I don't know. Like, I think if you take the Hulk out of what we got, I still think it's amazing. But, you know, I'm a big DC fan, and I've like watching like the Justice League movies, for example, and like there's no Green Lantern there, there's no Green Arrow. Like I'm always missing heroes that I want to see in teams like the Justice League and stuff. So I kind of understand.
Wait. When have you not seen the Green Lantern in the JLA? I've always seen him in the JLA.
Not in like the movies that we got in the DCEU. There was no Green
Lantern. Yeah, but those are movies. They had already swept away from it because they knew the movie was horrible.
I know, but it's a cinematic universe, and they're creating the team. And I think fucking Lantern was like number 6. He's like the 6th JL member, so it's like he's quite fucking important if you read the comics and you know the team. Yeah. Like, he's one of the founders. So it was always kind of annoying for me that he was never around for that. And then, you know, you get to like Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it's he's trying to bring in John Stewart and stuff. So
Pinto, did you just hear yourself right now? It upset you that he wasn't there.
Yeah, but again, as I say, I don't have that experience with the Avengers because
right. But you just stated for something that you actually care about. Your character was not the character that you wanted to see there because he was considered a founding character, just like the Hulk is in the Marvel universe. Yeah. Like it's the exact same feeling. That's what I want to hear. That's the exact same feeling that I want you to understand is that if they had never recasted Hulk and they never went through with it and they did an Avengers without Hulk, which to be completely honest, they use him all the fucking time. Like in shows, in movies, like and stuff like that. Like I'm not trying to say like, oh, you can never go without Hulk. I'm saying that not having a Hulk in your universe is just like that feeling when you didn't have Green Lantern with the JLA in the movie. But you were aware, you accepted the fact that like it's because the previous movie was shit. Now, I don't recall hearing that the Hulk movie was shit until they recasted Mark Ruffalo and until they heard about all the shit that went down with Edward Norton and, you know, the whole like struggling, like creative differences, struggling to find a way to update the script. He's always trying to update it himself because he feels like things need to be changed. Norton has already explicitly stated that he's an avid reader of Hulk. Like he basically read up on him, and he was trying to act like Henry Cavill. Mm-hmm. And so because Edward Norton doesn't have the same charisma as Henry Cavill, it didn't end up the same way. But we see that same situation with Henry Cavill. It just must have been that he had a better way of speaking his mind. But people were still against it because they didn't want to listen to the person that actually was trying to portray the character.
Yeah, but wasn't it that he wanted to direct, and they were like, we cannot let you direct your own movie.
Listen. I know that's what you want to reach towards, and I am aware of that. I didn't say he was wonderful. I said he was an asshole.
Yeah. So, like I was Team Norton, even up to the fact when they actually cast Ruffalo. I didn't like it. I was like, fuck, I want Edward Norton. I was Team Norton all the way. And then after I kind of got used to Ruffalo, I was like, yeah, that's fine. We can stay with Ruffalo. I don't really care. But yeah, look, I don't know. Like, I presume all the hardcore fucking Hulk fans are probably, pretty passionate about this like you are. But
no, like
it's not even on my radar, bro.
The hardcore Norton fans are because of the fact that Hulk was Disneyfied. And the last time we saw a decent Hulk was the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to admit that because they don't want to say that Hulk was actually decent. I'm not saying it was great. It was good for me, decent for others, but nobody wants to admit it.
Yeah. I'm curious to go back and watch it now, especially after the kind of dip in the MCU. I think watching it now, you'll probably be like, actually, this is like so much better than so much movies that and TV shows that we've gotten out in the last 2-3 years anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be way better than, you know, a lot of Phase 4, most of Phase 5. So yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, but it's like I'm telling you right now though, it's not the best. I can admit that it's not. It really isn't. No. But it was still good for what it was. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to tell people like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Oh, you got to love it. I'm just saying, like, please, like, stop trying to make it sound like it was the worst thing ever. We've had worse.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Jesus. There's movies that I would like outright refuse to watch. I would never like refuse to sit down and watch that movie. Like, you know, I wouldn't be against it, but there is movies that I'd be like, yeah, I'm not watching that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of Marvel, I think let's talk about Agatha first, and then we'll move into Penguin after.
And talk about an actual character that was literally a side character that didn't need to be given its own role in a show about itself, even though it had a decent moment here and there, which was actually like, it was so... It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, you're trying to make a character likable, and you're trying to make me understand who this character is and why we need to care about this character. So then why do you make it so that I absolutely hate the fucking conversations that happened between all of the, like, and this, and sorry if this sounds sexist or misogynist. Why are all the women mad at each other? Why are all the women fighting? Why can't you get along? Like, what is this shit? Like, it's so annoying. Remember Deadpool and Wolverine? Wolverine fucking hated Deadpool, but Deadpool like wanted Wolverine to hang out with him. Like, it was this magical feeling of like, dude, I just need your help. I don't want my world to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Listen. It's this moment of like, I really wanted to actually care about these different characters. Like I gave Agatha a chance when it started, but when she started getting really snippy with everyone in the show, And I know it was based upon like a TV that they were like trying to portray, which I was like, that's some tongue-in-cheek shit that you really shouldn't regurgitate. It wasn't that great in WandaVision. Don't do it again, please. It was this moment of like, she's an asshole to everyone, and then she needs their help. Go fuck yourself. Like, get out of here.
I feel like Agatha is a bitch. Like she's
a total bitch.
Yeah. I'll go as far as say, because I know this might be a controversial word for some people to hear, but she's a cunt. Like she is. Like I don't like that's a very common word here where I'm from. That might shock a few people, so I'm sorry if I've offended you. But genuinely, I get the feeling that she is a cunt. Like that's just the way that the character comes across, and I actually think that Catherine Hahn actually plays her very well. I'm gonna say I was actually quite shocked at how much I enjoyed the show, because I went in like zero expectations. I was expecting like another Acolyte, like 3 out of 10 show, you know, just not caring, just being there watching it to have to talk about it here. That's the only reason why I was watching it and why I threw it on in the first place. And you know, the show opens up and we've got like her trapped in the dream and she's inside like a murder investigation show. And I'm like, this is cool. I'm like, I like this. And I remember turning to my girlfriend and saying, I kind of get the feeling that this might be the best part of the show. And I hope I'm wrong, but I get the feeling that once she snaps out of the dream, it's going to get real cheesy and Sabrina the Teenage Witch style fucking shit. Like, and it's going to just not be for me. But I was actually quite surprised. I was quite surprised. Like the first 2 episodes are done. I would give them maybe a kind of 6.5. Like I actually thought it was pretty good.
Until their attitudes change, I'm giving it a fucking 4.
Yeah.
It is like just mediocre. It is not fun. I am not like I had good moments, but it just never sat right with me every single fucking time 2 people talked, they would get snippy with each other like they couldn't fucking relate to anything whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. Fuck you, Agatha. I'm not part of that covenant anymore. I don't want to be able to, like, it's like, okay, I get that, but it's like, do you really have to make all of them that? Do you really have to make all of them like against the idea of trying to get together? Do you really have to do like the tropey shit of like making a kooky character, someone who like is wacky as shit, someone who's fucking ditzy, someone who's like just like kind of, you know, within herself, but she's also pretty like petty about things. And then you have another fucking Agatha. You literally have that lady who was like snippy back and forth with Agatha and not giving a shit about the guy, which honestly I think is the most feminist thing to do, which is like shitting on that guy. All he did was be like, yeah, he's like, yeah. I'm a fan. I really love you. Get the fuck away from me. Fuck you. Get the fuck, like, it's like, that's how it felt. Like, it's like, let me love you. Let me fucking love you, man.
My guess, and I hope I'm right in what I'm going to say here, but my hope as well for the show is, you know, we kind of know a little bit about, again, I've never read Agatha. I don't know any of her backstory. I'm just going on what I've seen so far. And my guess is that she's burned a lot of bridges over the years. She's been alive for like 400 years or something. She got the Darkhold. She became like the queen of the witches and basically just said, fuck you to everybody else and went off on her own, started doing all her own dark magic and became the most powerful witch until Wanda came along. Then Wanda kind of strips her of her powers, you know, leaves her in Westview, and all these other witches that she's going back to now. Although my understanding of watching it was that she didn't really know any of them except for the girl who's like against her or whatever. The 2 of them feel like they have a history. I can't think of the actress's name. She's the other big actress in the show. What's her name?
Aubrey Plaza. Yeah.
So Aubrey Plaza's character, I feel like the 2 of them have a history from maybe a couple of 100 years ago. I presume we're going to get a flashback episode and see what the story with all that is. But the rest of them, I feel like they don't really know each other. I think Agatha doesn't know them, but they maybe know who she is, and maybe they're just kind of being a bitch towards her because of what she's done in the past.
Because of reasons. Like that's all it's going to turn into is because of reasons. No, we're going to get an explanation in an episode that we're not going to care about. It's gonna be the worst thing like possible, dude. Like I want to, I really do. Like I'm not trying to shit. I really am not trying to shit on it. It shat on me.
Yeah.
It literally gave me the middle finger. It shat on me, told me it was raining and that there was a parade going on in this shit storm. Also, I just wanted to give you a note. That character that Aubrey Plaza plays is actually supposed to be a man from the comics.
Interesting.
So they gender bent it for the sake, and I don't know if this was real or not. I don't know. We'd have to look up some sources and make sure things are factual. But I saw something about it, like an article or something that Aubrey Plaza also said that it was going to be one of the gayest shows. Which I was like, why do you do this?
I know, bro. I didn't want to bring that up, but basically, I saw that on Twitter. She did an interview at the premiere or something. And again, Variety, who are the same people who had that original interview about the Acolyte, came out and said like, "Oh, it's the gayest thing that Marvel's ever done" or something.
Why?
I'm like, what has that got to do with anything? Like, you know,
exactly.
I hate it. Look, they're just again just try to put stuff at the forefront of the show to try and put asses in seats. And do they not realize that doing that has the opposite effect? Like, you know, I understand that everybody needs representation, and I would never not want representation for anybody, right? But at the same time, like, you can't shove that representation in every single person's face when they probably represent 10% of the audience altogether. Like, let's be real, right? It's probably about 10% of the entire audience, but they're shoveling it in everybody's face as if it's the most important thing. And the only important thing about the show is that it's the gayest thing on Disney Plus or whatever the fuck they're trying to say. And it's like, you're having the opposite effect because, you know, again, a comment like that would never offend me. I laugh at it because they think it's important to market it, but it doesn't offend me. It probably offends some people. There's probably some very, like, you know, crazy fucking religious people out there that it's completely against their religion for them to even think about gay people. And like, you're instantly cutting people like that off from watching the show altogether. You know what I mean? Like, people in certain religions, like, you know, it's a massive no-no. Like, you're not allowed to watch it. They probably won't be allowed, even after saying that, they probably won't be allowed to show it in some countries. And it's like, why are you doing, like, put it in the show, let people make their own interpretations of it, and let them go off with it from there. Like, you know, I just don't see the reason why you have to put it out there officially. It's like, you know, people can fucking put two and two together themselves. You know what I mean? You don't need to say it. You don't need to say it. Just put it out there and let the fucking content do the talking. I just think it's so stupid, bro. Like, it really annoys me to the fact that they have to just keep fucking throwing it in people's faces. And then, yeah, look, you know, I hate Twitter at the moment because it's just like, it's full of this shit where it's just people arguing left and right about this show and about other shows and about the Acolyte and everything. Like, I'm genuinely not going to go on the For You part of Twitter anymore because it annoys me too much. All these people trying to compare this show to the rest of the MCU because, like, people are all up in arms that, you know, Catherine Hahn was naked in the show, and it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, it doesn't, like, I never even thought about it. I thought it was a bit weird that they showed her ass, just for the simple fact that it's the first time it's happened on Disney Plus, I think, in a show. So I was like, whoa, I can't believe they actually showed it. Now, I don't care that they showed it. I was just a little shocked that they actually made that decision to show it. I don't care that it's there. But I was just like, oh, that did kind of shock me a little bit that it was actually there. But then, like, you know, people are trying to break it down and say, like, oh, well, there was a kid in the background and the kid's shocked to see a naked woman and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, it's like they're showing naked women around children and stuff. It's like, you're going a bit too deep, bro. You're digging there. Like, you know, you're reaching pretty hard. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then people are trying to argue that it's, you know, well, like, you know, you've got Hulk naked and you've got fucking Thor naked, and, you know, like, there's loads of people naked in the MCU.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a natural thing. Like, she popped up naked. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, and yeah, like, you don't have to show the butt, but like, that was in my opinion a good move because
she's you got to remember as well, she's a comedic actress to begin with. So for her and for all of them who made the show, they probably thought it was hilarious. Like, she's walking back and her arse is jiggling and all. So, like, for all of them, they probably did it originally for comedic purposes, but everybody's just going way too far with it now. Like, they're just like,
because, like,
they're clutching onto straws here. It's
and I agree. And showing a butt is, like, for like laughs and shock value. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe she did that. And it's like, it's supposed to be tongue in cheek. It's supposed to be a funny situation. You know,
this comment here is fake news, by the way. I did not say this.
You always wanted to.
I have to put that out there. It's fake news. Yeah, look, I don't man. I don't know. There's so much division right now in the fan base, and I thought it was only Star Wars, and now this week I'm seeing all this shit with Marvel. I fucking hate it. I really do. Like, it's like, let's just sit down and watch this shit. Stop bringing in all this stupid stuff into it when half of it isn't even really there. Half of it's made up. Half it's just extremely like dramatized. But let's just watch the fucking show. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if it's good, great. If it's not, who cares? Move on. I think this is one of the last shows. Maybe this and Ironheart are probably the two last shows that are going to be the kind of, yeah, who cares? Like, we'll watch it, but we'll probably never watch it again. Let's just move on to the next thing.
See, and that's the sad thing, man. Is like I truly want to care. Like, but when I heard that they were like, oh, we're gonna do an Agatha show, it's like, why? We saw her like for a fucking minute in like episodes 8, 9, and 10, I think, or 8 or 9 and 10. I can't remember. Like, we got the reveal and we're like, oh, that was Agatha. It's like, how do you like? I get it. I get it for the most part, because when you do see comics in the long run of comics, when you see that a new character has popped up, eventually they will have their own comic series. As far as I remember, I don't recall too many comics based on Agatha. I'm pretty sure they have a couple. I know that's one of her stories is that she attempted to become Sorcerer Supreme at one point. And that would have been cool. That would have been really cool to kind of dive into. We already have Doctor Strange. Why not make that a thing?
Yeah.
Like, why not make a story up about that? Like, why not, give us something that's akin to what the comics are? Because you're so ingrained and want to say that you're in the 616 universe, which you've already shot yourself in the foot about, because saying that you're in the 616 is essentially saying, I'm in the comic universe.
Yeah.
And it's such a fucking punch in the nuts for me personally. And I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but I like the fact that they use different aspects of 616 and 1610. It to me, it just sounds like they should have just merged them together and made like Earth 17, like, something akin to like both worlds put together. And that's the movie verse.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. I'll put my hands up. I'm not really a massive Marvel reader. I'm reading more Marvel now just because of some stuff that's coming out that I really want to read. But I never read a lot of the old stuff, and I wouldn't have known that the comic universe was 616 before maybe you even mentioned it originally. Whenever you did, like, because I know we've been talking about this for a long time now. But yeah, I'm not a big Marvel comics reader. I just think like they probably should have made it its own thing, so that they would have the more of a freedom to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't really heard many other people talking about these points that you're making. So I don't know how many diehard Marvel comic readers I have interactions with. I'm presumed there's probably plenty of channels out there that go deep into this shit and have the same feelings as yourself. But I you're the only person that I know that talks about this stuff as passionately as you do, and I'm all for it. I love it, but I'm just surprised I don't hear it more, if it is as true as you say it is. But look, like, Griff in the chat says that Agatha never had her own run. I never heard of her before WandaVision. Never heard of her ever. So for me, she's a brand new character in my head. And did she need her own show? Absolutely not. If she was to show up somewhere along the line, or maybe if they did a Scarlet Witch movie and she showed up there, that would have been me satisfied with the character. That would have been perfect in my opinion. Am I happy for Catherine Hahn to have her own show? Yeah, cool, great. Like, happy for her. It's a good start. First 2 episodes have been pretty good. I'm quite shocked at how much I've enjoyed them. I was, as I said, fully expecting a 3 out of 10. It's doubled my expectation. So I think it's off to a good start. Can it hold that 6 out of 10 for me? I really don't think so. But again, I'm not going to judge it before I see it. Obviously, I'll go in there every week, and I think from a marketing standpoint, I think they have the final 2 episodes shown on Halloween night, which I think is absolutely fucking genius. You know, with the kind of show that it is, all about Salem and witches and stuff like that. I think winner, like, you know, well done to the guys for getting it in the schedule at the right time to be able to show the finale on Halloween night. I think that'll be really good. I can already see myself, you know, after the kids go to bed, after we take them out trick-or-treating and stuff like that, myself and the missus will sit down and probably watch the finale on Halloween night. You know, I think it'll actually work perfectly for the end of the show. I just hope it's kind of still keeping our interest by then. Otherwise, you know, it'll be just a thing that we have to do rather than a thing that we want to do, or I might have to watch it by myself. My missus, like, she's happy to just cut ties with a show if she's not enjoying it, you know. So
right.
For me, I'm like, I have to watch it, you know. So she, you know, there's sometimes where it's like, yeah, go finish that by yourself.
Exactly. So, yeah. You just like re-unlocked the memory that I had of why they hate her so much. It's because she literally acts like a witch from the books, from lore, from things. Apparently she ate kids, which I'm like, I don't know if she did that in like at all in comics or anything. I don't know this character that well. I think it's really weird that you portray this character as literally being a book witch.
Yeah. Well, I think, isn't it, she's like meant to be hundreds of years old, and she like is a Salem witch, and she killed the whole coven and took all the power. So she's probably in the witch community, maybe feared and hated for that fact. So I kind of understand that. And I'm honestly, I'm a little interested to see where they go with some of the story, because I don't know if you picked up on it, but you know, like when the library was on fire inside the dream and stuff, it's like that's the dark holes being destroyed across the multiverse and stuff like that. And I was like, they're kind of quite cleverly putting little bits in from Multiverse of Madness and stuff. And obviously seeing like Wanda's corpse and stuff, we never actually see her face, but we're to presume it's her, and then we see her name pop up. Like that stuff kind of intrigues me. And I kind of think, I don't know where I saw this. Somebody said this on Twitter or something, but and I think it's probably going to happen. But they had said, like, you know, when they get to the end of the Witch's Road, you just know Wanda's going to be there, like, or like, you know, her spirit or something will be there, or something belonging to her will be there, and them like bringing it back will like resurrect her or something like that. So I'd say, I don't know if Elizabeth Olsen's going to show up in the show. I think if she does, it'll be a big saver for the show. You know, because like, if they hear that she's actually going to be in it, it might get more people to watch it. But realistically, I would say something will happen in the story that maybe wakes Wanda up or something like that. Like, that's kind of the best thing I'm hoping for. I don't think we're going to see Elizabeth Olsen, but maybe we will. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And to be completely honest, like I do recall reading up a little bit of lore on Agatha, and that she's actually a bit of a supporting character. She like helps people, but in this case,
isn't she in one of the teams at one point in the comics? Was she like, not that she was an Avenger, but I think, was she like,
she was like
Sons or something, or she was on a team, one of the teams. I can't remember which one.
Well, she was just a point of interest as far as I remember. She just has knowledge of things, and you know, it's hard to say, like, you know, what she actually represents, because of, like, just as Griff said, like, she doesn't have her own run, so it's like it's hard to really gauge on what she truly means to like Marvel, other than, you know, having had an attempt at becoming Sorcerer Supreme, assisting. I think she's assisted Wanda and Doctor Strange at times. So like, I don't know,
I'm just looking at Wiki just while you're talking here, because I remember hearing something about the Fantastic Four. I didn't want to say it just in case, but her first appearance is in Fantastic Four number 94, and team affiliations. She has the Witches of Salem. Obviously, we know about that. Strange Academy, right. She was in at some point. The Daughters of Liberty. I don't know who they are. And then partnerships, like she has partnered up with the Fantastic Four and Scarlet Witch throughout the comics as well. So
right.
She's been around. But yeah, as Griff said, she's never had her own run per se. Now, if this show's good, I'm sure she will get her own run. But yeah.
God, I hope not.
Ooh, like part of West Coast Avengers. Interesting. The nanny of Franklin. Yeah. That's cool. She's Franklin's nanny. That's pretty
So then,
funny.
so then, does this mean that they're still going to try to work on doing the West Coast Avengers? Because I would very much be happy to see that. Um, I think we deserve to have another branch. We don't always have to be in New York.
Yeah,
We
I
could,
agree. I agree. She taught Wanda magic in the comics, says Griff as well.
we,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, yep, she did. That's what I mostly remember. And thank you, Griff, for reminding me. Um, it's just it's funny. Like they made her an asshole.
I kind of feel like they tried to tip the hat to that in the WandaVision show because I think, she maybe not so much taught Wanda, but maybe they influenced or pushed Wanda to activate her magic and become the Scarlet Witch. So I kind of feel like it's because of Agatha that we have the Scarlet Witch, if that makes sense.
I swear to Christ, Finto, if the reason behind her, like Scarlet Witch coming back is because of Agatha all along, because of the fact that that shit,
Get ready, bro. I feel it.
If it turns into that, I'm gonna be so mad.
I think get ready, bro. I think that's where it's going.
It's gonna be so annoying. I'd be like, God damn it, Finto, why?
Yeah. I think it'd be kind of funny to have Agatha show up down the line as Franklin's nanny in the Fantastic Four. I think that'd be so fucking
cool.
funny.
Yeah,
that'd be
I'd be
cool.
down
I'd
with
like
that.
that sort of shit. Because, like, us again as well, like, kind of seeing Agatha through the MCU grow, and how evil she is. Then she pops in as their nanny. I just think that'd be fucking hilarious. People like, you have her? Did you not Did you not do any background checks? It's like, do you not know who this woman is?
See, and again, now you just lost me. I'm like, I'm tired of this joking shit.
Yeah,
I'm so tired of it, man.
Is the Wonder Man show still happening? Griff's talking about the Wonder Man and Vision show. I know the Vision show is definitely happening, but I think Wonder Man got shelved, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, man. But like, what I would really love to see, because I've like seen so much of it lately, is fucking Plastic Man in the DC comics.
He's so cool, dude. I love him. He's so funny. He's so funny in the comics as well. He's such a great character. Apparently,
yeah, and apparently he's like actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
For that kind of character, holy shit.
Yeah, no, he is. He's very strong and he's real funny and he's kind of pervy as well. And he just comes across as a really funny character. And like, I love anytime he shows up in a comic that I'm reading, I'm just like, this is fucking great. I love him. I think he does something real pervy to Wonder Woman at some point in one of the comics I read. Like he's like a seat that she sits on or something. It's real weird. Like it's so funny though. Oh, he's a legend. He's a legend. Yeah, look, I'm excited for the next episode of Agatha. I hope it kind of stays on the path or the road that it's on right now. Pun intended.
I'm happy that you're happy.
I'm not happy. I'm a little surprised. I'm not happy. Obviously, I would prefer like to be watching Daredevil Born Again right now instead. But
God,
I think we're making the best of a bad situation here. Would be my kind of official review. Best of a bad situation.
Finto, I'm just going to give you a heads up right now. I'm going to go back to the time frame right now, like when we're offline. I'm going to clip that moment that you said, I'm not happy. I'm making that alert on my channel.
Okay.
I'm not happy. I love that. It was such a strong, I'm not happy. I was like,
no. Definitely not happy, but yeah. We're dealing with the cards we've been dealt.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Talk to me about the Penguin.
Oh my dude, that foot.
That is, I swear to God, bro, when that happened, because my missus has a weird thing with feet, I turned to her and I said, that's the worst foot I've ever seen in my entire life. And she was speechless. She couldn't even speak. Like, but yeah, like Jesus, I felt so bad for him.
Yeah,
man, I absolutely loved this show. I think it was such a strong opener for the show. It blows my mind every time I see Penguin, knowing that it's Colin Farrell under all the fat suit and the makeup and everything. Like exactly. It's just, and like, he's just putting on a great accent and everything. Like you wouldn't think that it's Colin Farrell at all. My parents only got back today from the US. They were in New York, and I said to my dad, I was like, have you watched The Penguin, or are you going to watch it soon? And he's just like, I can't believe that's Colin Farrell under there. I was like, I know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, like I think it's kind of like a mob show, Sopranos kind of meets fucking Goodfellas. Like it's just a kind of It's just like a kind of like mob show, basically just set in the Batman universe. I don't like so far anyway. It doesn't even really matter that it's set in Gotham. It's Gotham is just a place, you know what I mean? It's not kind
Yeah,
of connecting right now to the DC universe. I think if you know who the Falcons are and the other families, I think
yeah,
it kind of maybe just helps
the
you enjoy
ponies
it.
and the Maroonies, and
Yeah, it helps you enjoy it a little bit more and knowing who Oswald is and stuff. But you could go in there never seeing a Batman movie, never reading a DC comic ever, and I think you'll still enjoy the show just because of what it is, you know. Um, so I think I think that's probably part of the reason why they upgraded the show from a Max production to an official HBO show, and they put it on the main channel because I think they just know that, you know, standard HBO viewers who aren't big into the Batman universe will be able to jump in and watch this show and
Mhm.
enjoy it. You know, even if you hadn't seen the Batman, the 2022 movie from Matt Reeves, like I think you would still just go in there and just enjoy this. It's a great kind of starting off point, even though technically it's a sequel to the movie. I went and watched the movie last week, just before, sorry, only just this week. Sorry, what am I saying? I went to watch the movie. I watched it on Wednesday, I think, and then the first episode came out on Friday, and yeah, like it was so nice to go from the movie straight into the show. Like, you know, when you see him in the car and he's like, you know, look at what that madman did. Like, it's just nice to know, like, have the events of the movie like fresh in your mind, and then like see the actual aftermath of what's happening. It's really good. So look, if you haven't watched it yet and you haven't seen the Batman, I would recommend watching the Batman first, the 2022 one with Robert Pattinson, and then watching this show, just because they go hand in hand, obviously. And they're, you know, I think Matt Reeves is producing the show as well, which I think is very important because it's keeping the vibe and feel of the movie on the small screen, which
Mhm.
is something that I always pray for. Like, you know, it's what I always dreamed of for the Disney Plus shows in the MCU. Like, that's what I always wanted. I wanted the same vibes, the same fucking flow, just on the small screen. But you know, we didn't really get that. But maybe we will in the future. I don't know. But this right now, I think DC are doing it right. Like, they've released a Batman movie. It was good. It wasn't amazing. It's not like my favorite Batman movie, but it's a good fucking Batman movie. And then they bring out a TV show in the same universe made by the same people, and it's the same fucking vibe. And we just continue on. And that's the way they should all be trying to do it. Like,
Yep.
I'm not joking. Marvel should be taking notes here. You know,
Oh
DC,
yeah.
DC can't do a lot of things on the big screen for some reason, and I don't really understand why. But on the small screen, they're great. They make good superhero TV, and they make amazing anime, and they make incredible comic books. So it's like they can do this shit for some reason. I don't know why, but on the big screen they just keep flopping. But small
So
screen, it's great.
so you want to know the real truth of why they can't do it? Because essentially they are not utilizing the characters to the full extent of who they are, whereas DC has no qualms about that. They all their characters, all of them, every single one of DC characters, both good and bad, but well, except for I would say Solomon Grundy, like anybody that's kind of mutated, it's a bit
Yeah,
tougher with those. It's really it costs a fuck ton to make CGI versions of different characters that are really hard to portray on the big screen.
yeah,
So what do? They just make them humans. And what do they do when you only have humans in a show? You don't have any special effects, and therefore you save money. Marvel isn't that at all. Marvel has nothing but mutations, transformations, evolution. It has like deformities. It has all kinds of shit that would need to be portrayed with CGI or practical effects. And I don't know if practical effects would be cheaper or if it's still roughly like a decent amount of money, but they don't want to shell out the money for that.
yeah,
When they did She-Hulk, that was probably the kind of the biggest thing that they had so far, and it worked for a moment until people were like, "Oh God, there's flaws." But would you rather have flaws than to not have that character out at all? And it's sans the stupid story. I'm just saying, like in terms of like actually appreciating the fact that they decided to have the character as a hulked out version of Jennifer Walters. or have more of Moon Knight. If we had more Moon Knight, that would have been just as good. Like we have more of him in the costume, more of him in the other costume where like he's the British gentleman kind of roughhousing pugilist kind of thing. That would have been acceptable. I think more people would have enjoyed that. But because DC is all human based, literally all human based, you have Green Lantern, you have Superman, you have Wonder Woman. They don't look any different than an actual human. It's so much easier to do that. You have Penguin, who is just an oversized man who has a hobble because of his foot. It's so easy to portray that. It's so easy to just put it out there, and it's so easy to create mobster stories because we've seen it so many times. So they have so many references to go by. They don't have, they may have comics to run by, but they don't need them at this point. You can just do exactly what you want. Just put yourself in Gotham, like you said. You don't even have to realize that it's Gotham. It's just this character wants to be a kingpin. Essentially, he wants to be at the top of his game. And if, like you said, if nobody watched the Batman and nobody thought that this was actually a Batman universe character, it would be fine because it's a human, because it's so easy. Like DC had it down pat, but they just suck at portraying them on the big screen. That's why when we get Marvel movies and you get those CG effects and you get all the mutations, all the transformations, everything that goes on, because they can shell out the money for it. That's why you prefer Marvel movies more so than DC movies, because they're willing to put a little more pizzazz on it because they have to. With like shows for Marvel, seriously, how often have you seen a non-humanoid character that's not that's a big green thing, or a big something easy? It's almost all the time with Marvel, because that's the easiest thing that they can do. That's all the money that they have for it. And I mean, are you really going to complain? You're not paying for it, right? But you're going to complain at the fact that the story sucks. But it was cool to at least get a couple things here and there. So that's all I'm saying, is essentially DC has it down pat because it's so easy to make human characters and set them up because they've already have human characters established. Whereas Marvel is all about mutants, transformations, all that kind of shit. I'm regurgitating, reiterating, and stuff like that because I just wanted to set in your mind. That's the main difference. The problem here is that Marvel is making itself stupid. Marvel is making itself be cheeky and quirky and silly and fine. You can totally do that. We have Spider-Man. We have characters that do that. We have Deadpool. We have other characters that do that. We have Johnny Storm. He's a little bit of a hothead. We have Johnny Blaze, who we've seen on the big screen. It was actually kind of fun. Was it a great movie? No. But it was fun to see those animations and whatnot. But the problem is that the emotions behind these characters don't mix. They don't mesh. When you watch Penguin, you're watching a man who has a choice to make. Do I want to stay where I am, or do I want to be at the top? He's met with a character that is also, he didn't see ambition in him until later on. But he actually gave the kid a chance, even though it was probably a better idea to let him go, to get rid of him. Also, he was pissed at him. He could have easily been a dick to him, but he wasn't, because he saw something in him that represented himself.
Yeah.
And so why can't Marvel take that in Agatha and do the same thing with Agatha and that kid that she keeps bossing around like he's a little shit? He literally helped her out. He got her out of that trance. She got her out of the loop, and she's out of the hex, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
She's now her own person. She's back online. And what does he get? You're my fucking, he gets shit on. You're my fucking crony. And that's why it's so it's so unequal. And it feels gross. It's why do you want to dominate someone who helped you?
Yeah, it's kind of the witch's way, though, isn't it? They have the little the peasants, the little workers for them and stuff. and they kind of shit on them. That's kind of I don't know. I I think his character. Well, I pray that his character has a bit of depth by the time the show kind of is fully going. Like, when he's obviously under a spell himself, where he can't say his name or anything about him, his mouth shuts and stuff. So I presume he might be someone of importance, but we won't find that out probably until episode 6, I'd say. So maybe it'll turn out that he's someone of importance. Maybe Agatha will warm to him and take him under her wing. I don't know.
Guarantee you his name's Ichabod. Guarantee you.
Yeah.
Yeah, some random witch name some random witch show that we've heard a name from that sounds very much akin to witchery, witchcraft, and wizardry.
Yeah.
Your name's Ichabod.
I'm kind of like, oh, don't make him Mephisto or something, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, Jesus, please don't go there. Like,
it would be such a middle finger, and I know it's kind of like bleeding back into Agatha, but it's something to really like take note of. It's like you see the dynamic between Penguin and this kid, and it becomes like more of a heartwarming kind of situation. He learns to trust someone rather than always keeping to himself, and it happens very quickly because the kid shows how much he's determined. This moment with Agatha is so fast, and it seems like, thank you for helping me. You don't seem as dumb as you look. Now let's keep going. And now I'm going to treat you like you're still dumb. And it's like, come on, man. Like, can you at least give him a fucking, like, cut him a break? He helped you out. He got you through. Like, cut him some slack. He's not a crony. He really isn't. He's an admirer.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a fan.
He's a fan. Yeah, exactly. Now, when it comes to that as well, like, can we say that like he could still be some sort of a lackey and that he could be treated as such? Possibly, but we don't really get that satisfaction of seeing it that way, because like, I mean, when you do stuff like that, like the character is kind of like portrayed as, unfortunately they look ugly, or they look, unkempt, or something along the lines of like, yes, master, kind of stuff like that.
The Help.
Which is kind of, it's fucked up, but like,
it is, yeah.
But that's, that, like, you see it as a lesser being, and therefore you want it to be like your crony or your lackey. This is a full human being that literally helped you and is trying to learn how to be like, a part of this whole situation.
But also, and what's being maybe looked over as well is the fact that like he's obviously very powerful if he's able to break the spell that Wanda put him in. So that has to play some part in it too.
Yeah, and like I agree, because like it seems like, you really shouldn't underestimate the kid, and maybe that's the whole point, but it still feels kind of icky. Like, it's just one of those things of like, at least show that you trust him. Yeah. You the only reason why you trust him now is because he's able to drive you everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck off.
Yeah. Back to the Penguin. Do you think Batman's going to show up in the show?
I think he should.
He definitely should. Yeah.
I think it would be very beneficial to see him pop in, and that shipment that they were talking about, and they were saying like, oh, there's a big shipment going on. Things are going. I want that to be like, even if that becomes the finale, I want that to be where Batman shows up and fucks that whole operation up, and then it becomes like this situation of like, fuck, now I got to start over again, and then you bleed into season 2.
That'd be cool. And
right?
Do you know what I'd even like as well? Would just be one. I'd be happy with just maybe even just one scene of Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne in the show, and not even like, I know obviously it would be great to have Batman, but even if you just had Bruce Wayne show up, I think it would be cool, and it would kind of just ties it in and keeps it all relevant. I think that'd be really cool as well. You don't have to go like and do like a fucking 50 million big like action pack scene with the Batmobile crushing through shit and all. Like, you don't have to go that far. I think even if you were to just put Bruce Wayne in a scene where he's doing a bit of investigating during the daytime or something by himself, that'd be really fucking cool. I don't think you need to go like full blown Batman, but obviously that would be amazing if they did. I like that idea, what you said. If they did put in that Batman like foils the big shipment at the end. I think that'd be really
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
that'd be
so
so
cool.
fucking great. Because then like
I'd
it
love
turns
that.
into this like, oh, motherfucker.
Yeah,
Now I have a reason to really hate this guy.
yeah. He's foiled my plan to get to the top. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. And realistically, I'd probably see that happening now. Yeah, you put that in my head. Fuck, my expectations are high now, dude. You fucked me up. Yo, comic recommendations. Appreciate you popping in. Um, instead of just going off the comics, which is why the position to begin with, use your comic stories for God's sakes. I like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like we've been kind of saying this for a long time, especially with regards to DC as well. It's not just Marvel, but these guys have 80 years of comic books and like legendary stories that they could just take from the page or from animation straight into live action adaptations, and they would be 10 out of 10s.
Right.
One example that I just think off the top of my head is when DC made Titans season 3, and they did like Death in the Family, which is like one of the most iconic Batman stories ever, when Jason Todd dies and he becomes the Red Hood. It's like such a fucking iconic Batman story, and they did it in this show. And I remember when I saw the first trailer, I was like, holy shit, they're doing Death in the Family. It's going to be incredible. And they fucked it up. I was like, how do you fuck it up? Just do a straight 1-to-1 adaptation and it would have been perfect. I'm sure there's 50 fucking there's 50 examples that you could say for Marvel as well. And to be honest, like on the flip side as well, again, as I say, just full disclaimer, I'm not a massive Marvel comics reader, but I do understand that in stuff like the Infinity Gauntlet was very different from the comic to the actual movie. Civil War, I've read Civil War 1. I understand why Civil War in the MCU is different. A lot of it's to do with IPs and not having the actual access to use a lot of the characters, so they couldn't, and they're quite different. But I think the MCU did a great job in doing what they did with what they had. But yeah, there is plenty of fucking examples of them like just completely fucking shit up where they don't even need to, or going so far off the reservation with these stories that it's just like, just use your comics, bro. Like, just fucking use what you have and just make great shows. Please make great movies, make great animations. Like, just, it's so easy. As I say, like, again, I read a lot of DC, but like a lot of the anniversaries are coming up now for a lot of the heroes, and it's like 80 years of Batman, 80 years of Wonder Woman, like 80 years of fucking Superman, like whatever it is. It's like you have 80 years of content to work with, and you're putting out shit stories. It just doesn't make any sense. It's fucking crazy to me. What's up, Kate? How are you? Just watched Agatha today. I happy I enjoyed it. Yeah, we're kind of we finished talking about it. Maybe you can go back and replay the episode, but I was pleasantly surprised with the show. I think I went in expecting like a 2 or 3 out of 10, and it was like a 6 or 7 out of 10. So yeah,
it's a 4 for me,
and a 4 for Alex. Yeah, so he's not as on board as maybe the rest of us, but it seems to be scoring quite high with the critics and stuff like that. So again, I don't really trust them, but I kind of feel like that Disney could be probably paying some of those people to say these things, and maybe skewing the stats with bots and stuff. It's very hard to kind of trust things. To be honest, I don't really trust Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes. I'm more so of an IMDb man myself. I kind of feel like it's more kind of genuine scoring, and it kind of lines up with my opinions on a lot of things. Like, whereas you'll see some of like the RT fucking reviews, like you can go on, there's lists of them online, you can get like the most out of the pocket, like worst reviews ever for movies that were actually brilliant and stuff like. And I don't know, I feel like it's kind of all over the place, but it's really fucking weird. I haven't checked out this Cape Crusader animated show on Prime yet, but I'm hearing mixed things about it. I hear some people saying it's quite good. I'm hearing that they did a gender swap for the penguin and it's a female and stuff, and it's kind of like, why? Like, why would you do that? I just don't understand. Like, are there women out there that were like, fuck, I wish the penguin was a woman? I feel like I would have representation then if the penguin was a woman.
Same thing could be said about Aubrey Plaza's character in Agatha All Along.
I didn't even
originally
know.
A man.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that one. And I suppose that doing stuff like, and again, I'm not condoning this behavior in Hollywood at all, but I think doing it for a character that's not really known at all is one thing, but doing it for somebody like the fucking penguin is a bit crazy.
I love it. I think it's a good idea, honestly, because they don't put everything in Prime. They don't put everything in a Prime universe. They put it all in other things, so you can kind of base it off as like this is a different situation. It's a different universe,
Fair
and
enough.
if you're
Multiverse, yeah, that's fine. But I
yeah,
just think like create a new fuck character, like you know what I mean? It's like, do you have to just do a
I
female version of a male character, like instead of Lex
did
Luthor, it's Lexi Luthor? Like it's
so listen, did they have to
it feels cheating, bro. Kind of feels like a cheat to me.
did they have to do Octavia?
I don't know.
Did they have to do female Doc Ock? No, but did it work? Yeah.
It worked in that movie, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. You can't say it in that movie. It worked, sir. It worked.
It was. Do you know why it worked in that movie? Was because I didn't know that she was going to be Octavius, and then when the tentacles came out, it was kind of like, oh, that's cool. It's kind of like a surprise. But when you see like a female penguin done, and it's like being pushed to that as that, it kind of feels like it's an agenda more so than just doing a multiverse story where it's like something fun, where it's
I
like
don't know. I
it's like
didn't
a
hear
female
about it.
instead of a male. I don't know, bro. It just doesn't feel like that. Whereas I think the female Doc Ock showing up in that Sony movie, it felt like it was just done as a kind of like, oh shit moment, like it was a kind of
Well,
a
because it was
surprise.
because it was literally the multiverse. So
Exactly. But I
and
felt like it was like a kind of like, oh shit, it's Doc Ock. Holy shit, that's so cool. Like, it kind of felt like they were trying to like pull one over on the audience, and I think it worked.
right. But you know why else it worked?
Shia LaBeouf will
Because
save the MCU.
Shia
Explain,
LaBeouf.
please.
Ooh,
Explain.
I don't
Is he
know.
coming to the MCU? Did I miss something? Has he been
A
cast?
Sam Witwicky?
Are you ladies man 217? I love that movie, man.
No, but like, do you understand why Octavia worked as opposed to like other things? It was because she was still Otto.
Okay.
She was literally called. She was literally as Otto. She was a
Yeah.
character. She was a character that was portrayed as like the opposite of who Otto Octavius is,
Yeah.
and it wasn't blatant. It wasn't pandering. It was just like this is a scientist. This is a character
Yeah.
that you could probably get behind. Sorry, I'm looking away because my cat's on my computer and I might move him because he might be on the getting close to the power button.
Yeah, imagine Alex just dies from the thing. It's like, damn you, cat.
Yeah,
Griff says it actually makes sense in the episode. I'll check it out at some point. I'm not. It's not high up on my list of stuff to watch, but I do see.
we're
I do
gonna
see.
put it up there. We're
Yeah,
gonna put it up there now.
yeah. The next time we have a bit of a dip in content, maybe we'll talk about it. I actually do want to check out the Harley Quinn show. I've heard it's actually really good. I think they're on like season 3 of it now. It's like it's an animated Harley Quinn show on HBO, I think.
Oh, dude, you got to check out Suicide Squad Isekai.
That as well, yeah. Yeah, no, the list is long, bro.
Dude,
it's
fucking
long.
dude, fucking Clayface in that show is so fucking good. I just love how he's like, just trying to make myself an entrance and be a great actor.
I'd love Clayface in live action. Like, imagine they do a thing kind of like what Snyder did, where he had like Martian Manhunter there the whole time, but you didn't know. I would love if they did that for Clayface in the DCU. Just had him in there as a random character, but like someone of importance, and then like after like 3 or 4 appearances, he just changes into Clayface. I think that'd be so fucking cool.
Yeah, dude, that'd be great.
I'd love it. Harley Quinn animated is great. I've heard this. Yeah, I have heard this. So it's on my list. The Black Cat, the Salem Cat, very on topic today.
Yeah, I had to pull him off. Like he was getting dangerously close to the power button. So
how dare he? How dare he? We're nearly live an hour and a half. So do you have anything you want to bring up? I have a couple of bits, like nerdy news bits, we can talk about before we end. But
sure. So in the anime world, Jujutsu Kaisen manga is ending. I think by the end of this month.
Did you hear? Speaking of Jujutsu Kaisen as well, did you hear they're getting a live action?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Are you excited? Are you excited for that? Is that a win in your books or no? That you're
scared?
No,
they do a horrible job of doing live actions of animated shows. So
One Piece was good though.
You can say that all you want, sir. I despise it a little bit. Like it had
Yeah,
moments, but it changed so much of the story that I
yeah,
was just highly against it. Most
yeah,
people will say that like, oh, it's so akin to the story. It's like it's the same shit. No, we don't see Garp until like 300 episodes into the fucking animation.
yeah, yeah. I remember you
Like,
telling me something happened where it was like they jumped to like episode 400 or something.
dude, like
Oh,
they pulled this character out because I don't get it. Like they have so much content, so much. It's an easy win.
hmm,
They could have done this so well, and yet they decided to cut so much content from it, which I get it as an American for like from your standpoint, like, and even as a standard viewer, it's going to be hard for you to take in every single piece of information that comes from that show. And
yeah,
I understand that there's also things that you shouldn't really like put in because it's going to take so much time to explain.
yeah,
But by like cutting so much of the content, you lose so much of the agency of all the different characters that you run into.
yeah,
Almost just about every single character you run into on the anime comes back at one point or another. Dude, there was characters that were in episode like in the 300th episode. They made it all the way to like 320 something. They got defeated. They just showed up again in episode like 1000 something
yeah,
because they were made important characters. They were,
yeah.
you know,
I
it's
I understand and I respect your love for this show. Again, I don't have this love for this show. I can't jump into something that has over 1,000 episodes. I'd be watching it for years, bro, before I could catch up. Like it would take me years. So I,
you would eventually get there, and
I would eventually get
that is the problem that I see with most people in this community that are like, oh, it's too long, it's too long. No, it's
there.
not, motherfucker. You watch hour-long videos about true crime stuff. You watch hour-long videos about people shitting on other people like during things because that's more entertaining to you than to
Yeah.
actually sit down and enjoy a fucking story. You
I
know,
think big
things
anime
that
fans are gonna put in the time. I just think trying to get the normies, as well call them, and I'm calling myself a normie here when it comes to anime or anything in the anime like world, like this live action. But the way I kind of think of it is Netflix never go past like season 5 for a show. And I think they've taken up this show and they probably go, okay, realistically, we're going to do 4 or 5 seasons at most, no matter how fucking good it is. And then that's going to be it. So I can understand why they would go, okay, look, season 1, let's jump to episode 400. And then, like, by the end of season 2, they'll probably be on episode 800. Like, you know what I mean? They'll probably do another big jump and then they'll do another big jump again. And then if it's really fucking good, maybe they might slow down towards the end and get more accurate. I don't know. Or else maybe, is this one of the mangas that's finished? Is One Piece
no.
finished? Okay, okay. So yeah,
We
they will
probably have
have more
another
stuff.
we probably have another 3 to 5 years before it's over.
And that probably works perfectly for Netflix because they could probably just do it in jumps of like 400 each time for the live action. And then people like me won't give a shit because I won't know what's in episode 400 and what's missed in episode 200 that was actually really good, but probably should have been in it, So yeah, look,
I,
I understand your hate for the show because you're so hardcore to the manga and the anime. But for someone like me, I thought it was great, and like I was
I,
very pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed the show.
it's not so much that I like, it's not so much that I hate it. It's more so that like I was so disappointed in it
Yeah,
because I really wanted it to showcase much more of what the content should have brought. And I'm not saying that the One Piece like Netflix show is bad. I'm never saying, like, I've never said that. I just said that I really don't like the way that they portrayed a lot of the things that
yeah,
occurred in the show itself. There are
and see,
moments in it that I really enjoyed,
yeah,
but a lot of the characters have had their personalities changed. And some people are like, "Oh no, like Buggy's the same. Buggy's exactly the same." No, he's not. He's
mm,
like he's a like he, they made him into a little bitch way too early.
mm,
Like he is very much like a very confident person until like after Impel Down, in which case like things get a little rough. And then after things get a bit rough and he's being taken advantage of here and there, his crew essentially is helping him gain his confidence. In which case, then like you have all these different things that go on, and I don't want to say too much because I don't know who's in the household because Katie's actually caught up on it. But like essentially all the characters that you see, like they have the way that they are because they've gone through so much shit. And Netflix is going to do like, it's going to take the shortcut and say like, oh, they've already had this happen. They've already had, such and such. So like now that Garp is in the show in season 1, before we even know who the fuck Garp is, like it's not going to have as big of an impact as you're going to see later on, because the idea behind it is that you kind of know who Garp is because Garp takes in Kobe and Helmeppo, and then from that point they're training, and then from their training they become better soldiers, and then they start to grow, and then like it goes into the point where they're in Water 7. They reach a point where it's like, hey, Luffy's here, and then they're like, we're here to talk to you. Actually, your grandfather is here to talk to you. And they're like, what, my grandpa? And it turns out like Garp's grandfather, or Luffy's grandfather, is Garp, and that's supposed to be like the big reveal.
Yeah. Because that was a big reveal for me. And I remember thinking like, oh shit. I was like, that's fucking cool. And then I remember saying it to you and you were like, fuck this. It's like, this should have happened like 400 episodes in. Like,
it should have.
Yeah, I know. But again, as I say, for the normie like me, I had kind of the same reaction as you did, but just in a very different way.
Yeah. And that's all I'm saying is like, it should have hit harder.
Yeah.
Also Garp is never on that island. Like when it's Sarah Village. He's never on that island ever. He never interacts with Luffy until like way later in the Grand Line, and so it creates this like weird direction of like, go on, get out of here, you're my grandson. It's like, oh, God, you guys suck, I hate you. Like but like I said, I don't hate the show. I just really was disappointed with the way that they decided to put the characters out.
Yeah. No, it's fully understood. You have such a passion for the show that when they're not delivering it the way you want it to, you're gonna be passionate about it. Like, I'd be the same if it was like, some of my favorite comics and they're bringing them to live action and they're doing them wrong. Like, again, the Titans thing. I was so passionate about reading that, under the fucking Red Hood and stuff like that. Like, all that stuff is like part of the reason why I love Jason Todd. Like, Jason Todd is like probably the most hated Robin, but I fucking love him. And, I remember even talking about this in my comic book shop and they were like, you like Jason Todd? I was like, what? I was like, yeah, he's like the worst Robin. I was like, no, he's like my favorite Robin because of the story, the everything that he goes through. And just when they did that in live action, I was like, oh my God, you fucking ruined it. I was so annoyed, bro.
Right.
I was so annoyed. So yeah, I'm with you. I fully agree. Did you hear anything about the Spider-Man deal that's supposed to be coming out? So apparently, like, part of the reason why they haven't really released much news about Spider-Man 4, and there was like an apparent like rehaul of the story. It was meant to be like ground level, and now it's going to be like multiversal and stuff. I think Marvel and Sony have like penciled a new deal where Tom Holland's going to have a new trilogy, and then he's going to appear in like maybe like 5 more movies or something like that on top of it. And like Sony are going to allow them to use Spider-Man in more places. So like this, we've kind of talked about this quite a bit. And, it's like, just fucking put Spider-Man and stuff. Like, like, why isn't he showing up in Daredevil? Why isn't he showing up in anything that's in New York? And like, that's kind of the way I've always wanted it. And, when we were watching Hawkeye, for example, when we were watching that last episode and it's around like the big tree on outside Rockefeller Center, and you're like, Spider-Man has to be nearby, like, and there's a big like terrorist attack happening in Rockefeller. Like, why wouldn't Spider-Man swing by? It's like, I think now maybe with this new deal, they actually might be able to do things like that. Maybe like, it doesn't need to be Tom Holland, taking the mask off all the time. It's just a stunt double in the suit. And maybe, Tom records a few lines on his iPhone or something. And that's it. Like, I think that'd be just chef's kiss, bro. It'd be so good. Just having him show up on the small screen and the big screen, and just even like, doing collabs and pop-ins, and because like, why wouldn't he show up in like Captain America 4, for example, and never take the mask off. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Fully
I
makes
mean,
sense
what?
for Spider-Man's character, you know?
Well, it just depends. Like, what? Like, why would he be there? Like, would they have to make a story based on whether or not he was in the area, or, because from what I'm understanding, it's like it's going to be like a White House situation. So they're going to be in DC.
True.
Um, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, Spider-Man is usually based in New York, so that'd be quite a ways away.
True. That is true. And obviously after the events of No Way Home as well, nobody remembers Spider-Man. So it's not as if like fucking it's not as if like Sam Wilson's gonna be like, oh, let's get Peter involved, you know?
Right. Well, no. Like, Spider-Man exists. They just don't know
Of
that Peter
course.
Parker is Spider-Man.
But I wonder, again, I suppose we need to wait to find out how they actually do this, but will they actually have the stories themselves staying the same? So, like, is Spider-Man still an Avenger? Or, like, did none of that happen? Because if you think about it, if Stark never knew who he was, I suppose maybe is Stark's not involved, I suppose, because
Stark's dead.
Yeah. I don't know, like, it's like people, like, I think, like, like Fury, for example. Like, he obviously knows who Peter Parker is, even like before Spider-Man, I suppose, because he's so in tight with the whole situation that he knows Peter Parker. So it's like, does Fury think of Spider-Man as an Avenger if he doesn't know who Peter Parker is? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm fucking this up, but
no,
in my
you're not
head,
fucking this
I'm making sense.
Yeah, you're not fucking this up. So from what you're trying to say is, like, there should be data and evidence that Peter Parker is Spider-Man from Sword's point of view. But if the spell worked the way we thought, all instances of Peter Parker being Spider-Man are removed, but not Spider-Man himself. Spider-Man should still technically exist.
Yeah.
So then it's essentially you can make any sort of movie and not have Peter Parker take his head off, like his mask off,
Yeah.
and just be Spider-Man. And so that fixes that sort of situation where it's like, it doesn't matter if it's Peter Parker or not, you just have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Nobody should know who Spider-Man truly is. And I think Nick Fury would still find out regardless. So, like,
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time. But
True.
only the people that need to know will know.
Doesn't Hulk know in the comics? The spell didn't work on Hulk. It's like Banner forgets, but Hulk doesn't.
I can't remember entirely.
I'm pretty sure, because he actually speaks to him, and the Hulk, during the whole event, when Peter's like, nobody remembers him, and he's talking to Hulk at one point, and Hulk calls him Peter, and he's like, what the fuck? He's like, oh yeah, Banner forgot, but Hulk remembers who you are. It's cool. It seems like a really cool moment, and it's something that I would love to see actually in live action.
Is that from One More Day?
I don't know what I've seen the panels, but I don't know exactly what comic it comes from.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure if you just Google it, you'll be able to pick up the panels. I've seen them all over the internet. Like, but that'd be such a fucking great moment, because it's like it's a real kind of like bit of a heart jerker moment, and I think it would work really well in live action if we get to a point where we see Tom Holland Spider-Man like really struggling being alone. And then, like, he runs into the Hulk, and Hulk's like, hey, Peter, what's up? Or something, like, I'd be like, what the fuck? I think it'd be really cool just to have someone remember him.
And that makes sense, because Hulk is very resistant to like telekinetic things, but he's not unsusceptible to mind control. So it's like, it's a really tough situation with him. So, like, I would say, like, yeah, that would be fantastic if we could get that popping up. But, like, because of the merging, I would say that, I don't think they're going to go that direction. But
Professor Hulk ruining everything.
It's not even Professor Hulk. It's Smart Hulk, which is like, it's so annoying. Like, it's not even cool. Like, he could have been so cool. He could have been holding weaponry. He could have been like shooting missile launchers and shit, like the fucking professor does. That would have been so badass.
Yeah,
But nope,
another example of when they just didn't do it properly, where they had the material there and just didn't use it.
they broke his Hulk arm and put it in a sling because for some reason he now can't regenerate because of cosmic abilities. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, dude.
Dude can get atomized and still come back. How does this work?
Oh, I don't know. But anyway, I think the Spider-Man news coming out anyway, I think is very positive. I think, again, it's Marvel taking another step in the right direction to where I think we're going to return to a really strong MCU as a whole. I think the next couple of years it's going to really turn around from the plight of Phase 4 and 5. I think we could potentially get back to like another peak, like Infinity War Endgame, maybe, but maybe not as good, but close to it. I
hope you're right, man.
I have hope. Yeah, I do. I have hope, and I just think like I was watching one of the Den of Nerds videos there the other day, and he was talking about like what could be after like the soft reboot, so like after Secret Wars, like the world that we could be living in. You could have X-Men and Fantastic Four and the Avengers and Spider-Man and Daredevil and all of this under the same roof. Like it's just like it's crazy to think how good it could all be in the coming years. Like into the probably like the 2030s. You could be just having like Infinity War, or sorry, like Civil War done again, like exactly like the comics, and having like Captain America standing beside the Punisher and all this stuff that we just couldn't do before because of real world shit is all just possible now going forward. You could have a Tony Stark and a Reed Richards working together to try and take down Doom. Like all this stuff could be happening in the MCU in the next 10 years. Like, and it's wild to think about, like, because it's just so fucking cool, man.
Have you ever seen the premise for Civil War 2?
Was Civil War 2 after the assassination of Steve Rogers, or did that happen in, I can't remember.
No, Hawkeye literally shot an arrow at Bruce, and everyone thought that he was killed
from an arrow.
Yep.
Wow.
Because he was still human at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I never read Civil War 2, but I read the first one and fucking loved it. Thought it was brilliant.
Crucial characters that seem to be tertiary actually being primary in different comics is really important. Like it's not important, but it's really interesting when you see that like some characters that seem to be like on the sidelines actually become some of the most important characters like in later comics. It's so cool. I love stuff like that.
I do, and I like Elseworld stuff like Old Man Logan, where like you've got like the fucking the Hulk taking over like half of the United States, and you've got Hawkeye who's like an old dude and he's like blind and deaf, but he's still a fucking animal somehow. Like, and it's just so cool. Like I love all that shit. Like I'm a big fan of like Elseworld stuff, and that's part of the reason why I love DC, because you could be reading like the main timeline Batman, and then like there'll be a little six-part series that comes out that's just fucking incredible, that's not connected to anything, and it could be set like 20 years in the future, and Bruce is married to Catwoman, and it's like all crazy shit, and they've got kids and all this, like, there's just so many possibilities, and I just love that DC are just not afraid to just tap into all that shit and just go wild. Like I'll die on this hill, but I like really thought that Snyder was going to like do Injustice and just like have full evil Superman and all this sort of stuff, and like it would have just been so cool to see. And I fucking hate that we didn't get it. I really feel like that's where it was going, and it just got like taken away from us, and I was so upset. I thought it would have been brilliant if people got to see it like for what the Injustice comic is. Like if you've never read Injustice, I highly recommend it. Like it's so fucking good. But yeah, oh man, it's just, love it. Snyder sucked. No way, bro. No way.
I mean, I'm letting you be in your happy place, Finto.
I'm a fan, bro. I am, but
I know.
I just, look, it is what it is. The DCEU probably died because they were just trying to be the MCU too quickly. They should have taken their time with it, and I think they might have made something a lot better. But like to jump into the Justice League straight away was just crazy. Like I really think it was, and I know Batman and Superman have had origin stories for so long that you probably don't really need them. But like, do a fucking do a Cyborg movie, do fucking, another Green Lantern, do it right, do other bits, and then form the Justice League. You know what I mean? It just felt rushed.
God damn, I enjoyed Blue Beetle, man. I
did too. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was fun too. Like, was it great? Was it like a spectacular 10 out of 10? No, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
It's fun. It was fun.
Snyder killed the DCU. I actually don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
Oh, I agree so hard. It's so hard with that. Oh.
If you look at like the box offices of all of Snyder's movies, they actually made DC money. It was all the movies that he didn't do were the ones that fucked up. Like, he was producer on the first Wonder Woman movie, and that like made like 800 million or something crazy. Like, his Man of Steel was great. Batman vs Superman was not great. His extended cut was really good, and then obviously, the whole shit show that was the Justice League, not Snyder's fault. Do you know what I mean? And he had a fucking death in his family. He had to step away. They replaced him and went on and made the movie without him. I say fuck DC. I say fuck DC. I don't say fuck Snyder for that. And like, the Snyderverse, that's the Snyder cut is 10 times better than Joss Whedon's cut. So I don't blame Snyder at all. I blame DC for their failures, or Warner Brothers, should I say?
Honestly, that movie was doomed to fail from the start.
The Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but Snyder's version of it is amazing. I love it. It's fucking brilliant. Except for all the Wonder Woman shit. I hate all the Wonder Woman like music. I don't know why he does it. He does it in all his movies. He's like, when like, the badass woman comes up, he always has like this crazy music in the background, and they always just slow-mo and shit. And I don't agree with that, but I was a fan of his vision. I thought it was great. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end it on that. Snyder is great. Warner Brothers ruins the DCU, not Snyder. That's where I just love
it. Snyder's great. I'm gonna go. Bye, bye, bye.
No, in all seriousness though, he is great. Next week we have Penguin episode 2 and Agatha. Sorry, the next episode. So we won't be live next week. Yeah, but the next episode of the podcast, which won't be next week, it'll be the week after. So episode 144, we'll have 2 episodes of each then. So we'll have episode 2 and 3 of the Penguin and 3 and 4 of Agatha.
Jam-packed.
Yes, sir. So it might be a long one if we have 2 episodes to go over, and then any other nerdy news in between. Guys, if you're listening to us on a replay, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you like Zack Snyder or not. And leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, all that usual YouTube bollocks. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Later, everyone.